If you run a service brand like plumbing, electrical, HVAC, extermination, any of these things that need someone to run a technician out to a location to fix a problem or install something, you know how difficult it is to answer the phone with customers that are waiting for an emergency and need help right away. You know that you could pay tens of thousands of dollars for a receptionist, scheduler, or a dispatcher, but I can tell you right now that that is not necessary. AI agents and voice agents can handle everything. Imagine having a receptionist slash scheduler slash dispatcher that never took a lunch break, that worked 24/7, and that answered questions, scheduled technicians, and communicated with everything as a clean system 24/7. Well, here it is for you guys right now. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how I use a voice agent mixed with an in-it-in automation that builds, schedules, and dispatches technicians to different locations that need HVAC help. Now, in this example, I created a fake company that is a fake HVAC company that takes in inbound calls from customers that have emergencies or need something fixed. And for this instance, I will be using Vapi AI and in with a scheduler agent that handles everything from checking availability for technicians, scheduling events and scheduling technicians to go out to a location for a customer, and then finally communicating to that technician and the whole technician team that this person has been given a job that needs to be done at this time. So stay focused on this one because this is a super powerful, super valuable automation mixture that can make you, if you sell this automation, a ton of money and save businesses a ton of money in the process. All right, so I'm currently in Vapi, and if you've ever used Vapi, it's pretty easy, pretty simple to set up, and I believe that it's one of the best voice agent platforms for things like this that exist. So I use Vapi for all my voice agents. In fact, I built other agents that I might make a video on later, like a outbound sales agent, an inbound sales agent, a receptionist or customer support agent. So there's so many different capabilities that you can use with Vapi that I have used and we're going to use in this particular automation. So once I start explaining a little bit more and going into the actual assistant that gets used, you're going to start to understand how all these pieces fit together, not only from the Vapi side, but also from the in side, where it's pretty much a voice agent that is using another agent as a tool. And it's pretty cool how all these interact together. And I mean, once these get working together and, talking to different customers in different situations, the capabilities are pretty amazing. And it didn't take that much time to produce, but hopefully when you guys have this automation, you'll understand how easy it is to actually get it set up, get it running, and then start for testing to get it to a place where it works for you. Hey everyone, so I just quickly, before we get into the main piece of the video and the exciting pieces, I wanted to first say how thankful I am for everybody that's watching, but also the opportunity that you have in front of you, where if you own a business, if you run a team or a department, you can save 10, 20, 30, even 40 hours every week by just implementing automations and AI automations within your business. And that's exactly what I do at Proverb AI Consulting, my consulting firm that has helped tons of businesses out there gain back their employees' time and save tons of money in the process. So if you want to increase your team's output while reducing the headcount, please reach out to me. Click the link in the description to Proverb AI Consulting. Get a free readiness review that basically primes your department for systems that will work with your team and pretty much build automations that fit directly into the systems that you use every day. So go check that out. It's super good information, and let's get back to the video. All right, so I'm currently in my assistant. My assistant name is Jessica. She is basically an inbound receiver slash receptionist slash scheduler slash dispatcher. And not only does she speak eloquently to actual prospects or customers that need help, she actually utilizes an in automation agent that allows her to schedule, check availability, reach out to different team members or technicians, and then send out a response that she then uses to relay to the actual customer. So this is just a basic setup, super easy to get started with just an assistant, which is just adding an assistant, and then you can name her, you can, or him, and you can configure her voice any sort of possible way. Obviously, like if you give her different system prompts, she's gonna behave in different ways, or he, and it's super simple to actually implement a system prompt and give it intelligence. And there's a bunch of different configurations you can do with tone, speed, personality, all these different transcribers that you can use. So when she's actually speaking to an actual customer, she can use different models to transcribe. Some are better than others. I've kind of found ones that have worked for me. Some work in certain situations, some work better in others. You just have to test around and kind of try everything out to get a feel for what you actually like and what you want your voice agent to sound like. So also, not only that, she can call different tools, which is probably the most effective piece to this whole automation, where she has the capabilities to call different outputs. For instance, a tool output that will go and use a webhook to connect her to the innate automation and an AI agent that can do all the things that I was just talking about. So just to get in a basic understanding of how this AI agent works, I'm going to go ahead and talk to her. I'm going to try to, confuse her with scheduling and see how she does.
Hey there, this is Jessica from JR Automation's HVACs. How can I help you today?
I'm doing good, except my AC unit is broken.
Oh no, I am so sorry to hear that. I know having a broken AC can be really uncomfortable, especially in this heat. Let's get you taken care of. Can you please share your first and last name?
Yes, my first name is Kurt, my last name is Warner.
Thanks, Kurt. And where exactly are we sending the technician? What's the address?
My address is 123 Rams Hill Drive.
Got it, Kurt. Now, given what's going on with your AC, is this a get someone there ASAP emergency, or were you looking to book a specific time slot?
So I was looking to book tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Great. Let me check the live schedule to see if we can get someone out to you at that time. Please hold on for a moment. Perfect, Kurt. You are all set on the calendar. You'll get a text confirmation shortly. Stay cool, and we'll see you soon.
Jessica, what's the time of the appointment?
Kurt, your appointment is scheduled for 11 a.m. on January 27th, 2026.
Okay, and I asked for 9 a.m. Why didn't you give me 9 a.m.?
I understand your preference for a 9 a.m. appointment. Kurt, unfortunately, our technician was already booked at that time, but we were able to get you in at 11 a.m. If you'd like, I can double check for any cancellations that might open up an earlier slot. Let me know how you'd like to proceed.
All right. No, that time works fine. Thank you.
Goodbye.
All right, so as you can see, she first got tripped up, but then she figured out that 9 a.m. wouldn't work, mainly because that scheduled time was booked. And I'll show you exactly how that looks in the calendar and how everything works on the back end. So here I am in the scheduler, and it appears to me that because Mike, the technician, was scheduled at 8:45 to 11 a.m., 9 a.m. wouldn't work, okay? So the schedule agent sent back a response saying 9 a.m. is booked, find another time, the next closest time is 11 a.m. So Mike, the technician, is able to show up at 11 a.m. to help Kurt Warner with his AC unit being broken. And that time was being scheduled, so there was a discrepancy, but she fixed it and made up for it. So I'm gonna go over exactly how Jessica's configured and how she utilizes the scheduler agent to make decisions on different times. Okay, so I'm back in Jessica's setup, and I think to go over very quickly what's going on here is we have to think about what Jessica needs to make decisions. The first thing she needs is context. So she needs to know the date it currently is, because when you speak to a person or a customer that needs help, they're going to expect you to know what day it is, what time it is, so you can make actual rational decisions on when, they should make an appointment. So if a customer said tomorrow, right, that means you'd have to know what the date is today to make a rational decision on the schedule, right? So that's one piece. The next piece is I want Jessica and a customer service or customer forward-facing person within the company to be extremely warm, capable of them, accomplishing tasks for the customer, but also being sympathetic. So in this situation, I expressed very seriously that the persona and voice rules have to be exact. Now, I want the tone to be warm, capable, reassuring, and I want the golden rule: you must acknowledge the customer's pain before you ask for their information. Now, you could configure this any way you want, but when I first started testing this particular voice agent, it was very robotic in how they ask questions, and it was very get to the point type thing. So the first question I would ask would just be, I need all the information I need to make a rational decision on the schedule, so I'm going to ask in one single question, name, address, urgency, and the problem or the issue. So that was a problem because if your company, if you had a person that just started asking, hey, give me your number, your name, your phone number, all these different questions, without any sort of personability and without any sort of sympathy, especially being a service brand, it's going to look really bad on your end. And that's a very important piece of being a customer first business. So I wanted to add that in there. The next thing that we had to add in there was getting the information and using it logically to give to the scheduler agent in innate. And we need to have clear, parameters in which they can hand off to the next thing. So we wanted to make sure that we got the issue correct. We wanted to make sure that we have their exact name, first and last, the address at which the technician is going to, because that's extremely important, because the technician needs to know where to go and plug into their GPS to find the location of where the issue is, and then obviously urgency and time. So there's a big parameter around making sure the urgency is correct, making sure that if they did specify a preferred time, that was given and handoff into the scheduler agent, and that everything fits cohesively. And on top of that, if there was sort of any discrepancy with a preferred time being a busy time, that they could realistically get another time and relay that back into the customer. So that's what this whole prompt is doing. It took a lot of testing to get it to this point, but I will put this in the description for anybody that wants it so they can reference it in their model or in their build as they want to. So that's the first piece. Now the second piece is a voice configuration. In that voice I chose Jess. She's a very warm person. I looked at a few different other female voices and she just fit the best for this particular use case. Now, there are some background things that I did that kind of make it feel a little bit more nice and neat, or at least make it sound realistic. Now, I'm not expecting anybody to feel like this is a real person. However, I do want to drop, I guess, the fear or the guard of a different customer that, is pretty put off by AI agents or voice agents that sound super robotic. So I feel like if you add a little background noise, the customer's going to think, oh, they're busy, so they must be good. Or, maybe it is a real office and maybe this person is maybe just sounding a little robotic, but maybe she is human. And that human aspect doesn't necessarily have to be truthful, but what it needs to do is it needs to increase the trust in the prospect or the customer. So I found that to be a very good way of doing things and to increase the trust of your business and your brand. So then the third piece is this transcriber. Now, I'm using a DeepGram English language transcriber that is about as fast as you can get without, and as accurate as you can get without using a different model or taking a lot of time to process the different information that's coming in and transcribing the customer's voice and language. So this is probably the best one that you can do. A lot of these are just defaults, but you can adjust them for different things that you like. Just be aware that if you do adjust them, it might increase the latency and it will sound robotic. I can guarantee that. The fourth piece, which is an extremely important piece, is tools. Now, you can enable a bunch of voice bots to use different tools. For this particular one, I made it simpler so we can be as basic as possible for anybody learning these, but I created a tool that is called the Book Service Call tool. Now, going into that piece, if I go into tools and I have that selected already, I just have this other basic tool for another automation that I have. But a book service call is a very good way to start, and I'll show you that in the next step. All right, so I'm currently in that book service call function or tool, if you want to call it, but I have the name here, book service call. I have the triggers when the agent has collected all necessary details to schedule an HVAC technician. I don't have any of these options checked, but there are parameters that need to be associated with this particular tool call. And the first one is urgency. So that is it high priority, is it low priority, is it medium priority? What is the urgency of the call, and does the customer need a technician ASAP, or are they available to maybe request a time? So that's the first parameter. The second one is customer name. Obviously that's very important because the technician needs to know who they're actually going out to, and just for trust's sake, it's nice to have the voice agent actually reference a person. The third is requested time. So if the voice agent asked, hey, do you have a preferred time or is it super urgent? If they responded with a requested time, then that would be inserted into this particular parameter. Service address, very important, obviously, because the technician needs to know where to go. And then issue description, which the technician needs to know what the issue is so he can have a preemptive idea of what kind of situation he or her is getting into. So those are the parameters I have set up. And I don't have anything particularly set up here, but I know that once we connect everything with the webhook on the service agent or scheduler agent piece, then all this will be pushed over into that webhook that will then be initiated for the scheduler agent to perform all the actions that are needed for the voice agent to get as much information and also book, communicate, and schedule the job with everybody on board. All right, so now that we've gone over the voice agent, we've gone over that configuration, we've gone over the tool calling piece of that voice agent, now we're finally into the main piece of how the interaction between the voice agent and the scheduler agent work together. So to initiate it, I have a webhook, and it's a job request webhook. So this is connected through the voice agent. And anytime that the voice agent is interacting with a customer, the webhook will be triggered. However, it will not be triggered unless certain things happen and certain actions are taken by the voice agent to actually initiate and push this through the whole scheduler agent piece. So the webhook is receiving all the time. Now, this is where things get interesting because now we're deciding on what's actually happening within this webhook to actually push out the automation. Because if we didn't have this switch node here, it would just be constantly firing. The whole automation would be firing. And it wouldn't have the proper parameters to actually make a decision, so it would constantly be failing, not executing, and timeout. So this switch node is literally the piece of the puzzle that brings everything together. So right now I have routing rules, JSON body message type is equal to tool calls. So anytime that there's a message between the customer and the voice agent, there is a piece of this that says in the body message type it would either say like agent or it would say customer. Now, anytime the voice agent has all the information that it has ready for it to call a tool, it'll call a tool, and this will be the message that it sends, and the category will be tool calls. So that's what pushes actually everything into the next piece of the automation and where everything gets super fun and interesting. So the next piece, once it's actually gotten all those different parameters, we then configure the parameters with customer name, issue, urgency, address, call ID, requested time, and all these different pieces get fed into the AI agent where they can start making decisions on different things. So I'll show you a brief execution example of what's actually happening once it finishes executing. So this is all the different parameters that are coming through once those tool calls message types are coming through. So customer name, issue, urgency, address, call ID, and requested time. So these are all the parameters that are going into the model that will actually be pushing out different information. So if we actually go in here, you can see different pieces of what's actually happening. All right, since I have this actually published, this is why they have the cross-section lines here, but I'm gonna go into the AI dispatcher agent and show you exactly what it's doing, how it's thinking, and how it's getting more information for the voice agent. In this terms, it's Jessica from JR Automation's HVAC. So this is the final result of the AI agent actually pushing that final message through that confirms the 11 a.m. booking time. So it says, awesome, I've configured that time is clear. Mike will be swinging by. Mike's the technician that's going to be working on this job. Mike will be swinging by at 11 a.m. on January 27th, 2026 to help with the AC unit broken. You are all set. So not only does it actually figure out, okay, this time's available on the calendar, it also figures out how to create the event, and it figures out how to respond effectively to, I guess, the voice agent, and then the voice agent can use this to respond effectively to the actual prospect or the customer. So it's done that. I will be putting all of my prompts into the description so you can see it and you'll be able to use them for yourself as kind of a gauge for different things that you could actually use this automation for other than doing something for an HVAC company. But this is the example I'm using, and yeah, the voice agent uses all these different tools. So if I go into here, you can see that it got all this information just from calling this tool about what the calendar looks like. And in the system prompt that I have for the AI dispatcher, it specifically says the first rule in the booking strategy is if user asks for a time, check that specific slot first. So I think the prospect initially asked for 9 a.m. Unfortunately, that time was booked on the calendar, so it says rule 2. If emergency, find the soonest slot available, ignore business hours. If standard, strictly 9 a.m. to 5. And so the step 1 is the investigation piece. It's going to call the check technician schedules for the requested time. So it's going to check for that 9 a.m. time slot. Step 2 is the analysis. You must analyze the JSON output from step 1. So that means it's going to get all the information from that tool call. If I go back to here in the check technicians piece, it'll show all these different pieces, right? It'll show all these scheduled times in the calendar and be able to check and cross-section that and cross-examine that with the time that was requested. So then I'll go back here, and the next thing we'll do, it will say, oh, that time's already taken. We'll send a message back to the voice agent to say, hey, 9 a.m. is taken, but 11 a.m. is free. So if the customer responds with, hey, 11 a.m. works fine, then it'll send a message back and call that tool again to schedule this time. So it'll book the technician job. AC unit's broken for Kurt Warner. We're scheduling it for date and time, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., which would be noon. So it's scheduled that, and then it's sent back that message that says, obviously 11 a.m. is free, and we scheduled that for you. So that's when Mike the technician will be out and be returning or going out to your location to fix your problem. So, and then on top of that, there's a third piece of this that the AI agent dispatcher does. And this is probably, if you're talking about a full team and a full business, you want to be always in communication with your technicians, always in communication with your team, so everybody knows exactly who's on what schedule. And if for some reason there's another piece of everything that, there's a job that needs to go out there and be solved, you're going to know exactly who's free, who's busy, who's maybe worked the most that day, and who needs a break, who applied for overtime, so they'll be able to go out in after hours to go solve the problem. But there's a message that's being sent out to Slack saying, new job, AC unit broken for Kurt Warner at 11 a.m. on January 27th, 2026. And that gets sent out to Mike, the technician that has a Slack account that is part of the service team or technician team within your business. So he knows that that's a schedule. And then finally, after the webhook's been sent, there's an admin log that says, this is coming from an automation. It basically just says, hey, this whole team, just know that Mike is going out at 11 a.m. January 27th to help this guy, Kurt. And everybody knows that at this time, Mike, the technician, from 11 to 12 will be busy and is not available for any other jobs. So everybody's in alignment. Everybody understands what everybody's job is and what's going on that day or that week, so they can all be aligned and work successfully. Now, I'm going to quickly go back to the Google Calendar to show you what that actually looks like on a calendar end. So I quickly wanted to show you guys what this actual message looks like in Slack, but it just says new job AC unit broken for Kurt Warner at 11 a.m. on January 27, 2026. And I want to show you that the Slack notification shows up in JR Automation's HVAC team, and yeah, everybody knows what's going on. So that's a nice touch. It's a nice piece to keep every part of your team connected and in the loop about what's going on, and hopefully learn from a lot of situations with tracking and different things and how to schedule better in the future. All right, so I'm in Google Calendar, and you can see that this is the service technician team's calendar that shows everybody's jobs and bookings for that week. Now, this being the case, you can see that the HVAC for Steve is installed, the vents fixed for Gary. Mike has a couple jobs, actually he has 3 jobs now because we just scheduled that one for the AC being broken at Kurt Warner's house, but he had to fix vents for JJ from 8:45 to 11 a.m. He had to then go to work with Kurt Warner, and then at 1:30 he's repairing a heater for Meg. So all these different pieces and all these different team members have different things, and the AI scheduler was able to recognize that. Mike was busy at that time at 9 a.m., so his job got pushed back to 11 for Kurt Warner. And this is super effective for if you're running a team, if you're running a business, and just doing a lot of different scheduling. And I know that I've never built a scheduling agent before, but this was my first one, and I think it's pretty amazing at what it can do and what it's capable of. So that's my voice agent. I showed you guys what it's like to actually converse with her. I showed you guys what it's like to actually utilize a scheduler tool and utilize a calendar to book events, and then book Slack messages in Slack for your team or your department. So I think if you utilize this automation to really be effective and save tons of money from eliminating a receptionist, a scheduler, a dispatcher, and automating everything to sound very realistic, to be super effective with both the tone, the voice, and communicating effectively with customers, and just working 24/7, never taking a lunch break, never taking a bonus, never taking a vacation or a holiday. This can be super effective for service brands that are, solo entrepreneur run or, super lean, and could be extremely effective in gaining a lot of revenue opportunities through customers that, need help. And if you can help customers and answer their questions and be sympathetic, they're going to be repeat customers in the future. So the revenue opportunities vastly grow if you can answer the phone at any time and answer the phone effectively, and just add to the whole service aspect of your business and brand and reliability. So if you enjoyed this automation and like things like AI agents and business opportunities and workflows, please follow, like, subscribe all my channel, or my channel JR Automations, and also all of my social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, X, LinkedIn. Follow me, and yeah, if you like these kind of real world automations that actually move the needle for businesses, it's great to have you guys viewing, and thank you so much for viewing. And I hope I helped a lot of people. I hope I showed a lot of people that things like this are capable of happening and being very successful for businesses, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks a lot.